Dancing fever. Strasbourg 1518. Sunlight stripes the cramped study as the physician bends to write. He pauses, listening to distant commotion threading through the shutters. Ink scratches. Emotion without music, perhaps a passion of the mind. The vial shivers on the wood as he steadies it with a careful touch. He resumes, jaw set, committing observation to the page without hesitation. Heat shimmers as a ragged line of dancers staggers across the square. The barrel maker stares, transfixed, as muted taps match the faltering feet. Faces shine with sweat, eyes unfocused, steps drawn by something unseen. The muted drum falters, yet the bodies keep time as if compelled. Dust halos their ankles as the crowd's unease gathers at the edges. An empty square bathed in moonlight, stones pale and breathless. The camera lingers, the city forgets the rhythm it once obeyed. A single drop gathers at a gutter, poised at the edge. The drop falls, strikes stone, and the image cuts to black. Low fog hems the fields, dawn bleaches the horizon pale. Two farmers speak in hushed tones, work paused by memory. They cross themselves and turn back to labor, hands steadying. The world resumes, but a tremor lingers in its careful rhythm. A narrow alley, stones drying in patchy sun and soft overcast. Frau Trophia sits wrapped in a blanket on the doorstep, calm-eyed. Neighbor stands nearby, silent, sharing warmth without words. Between them, the alley is simply an alley again, quiet and plain. Dawn light spills across cobbles as stalls rise and square awakens. Vendors strain canvas as the spire's shadow stretches across stone. Two apprentices haul a barrel, faces set, breath fogging faintly. Square breathes, a hush beneath routine as sunlight sharpens lines. Pigeons scatter as a cart jolts, morning steadies into watchful calm. Frau Trophia steps out, face blank, dress darkened at the collar. Her heels slap stone, arms loose, cadence steady and insistent. A chicken bursts from beneath a cart, startled by her unyielding pace. She does not look, only steps, cadence tightening in the glare. Bakers freeze mid-lift as flour hangs bright in the hot air. A basin rattles in time with unseen steps, drawing paired glances. A child points, mother's hand tight, as heat presses and curiosity grows. The city exhales, eyes turn down lane toward the relentless cadence. Neighbor approaches, cautious, brows knit, hand lifted to slow her. He keeps distance, circling slightly as her feet redden on stone. His hand hovers, worry deepening, her gaze passes through everything. Stall fronts frame them, the square tensing around every metronome step. Neighbor angles to block, voice edged, Trophia pivots, pace quickens. Her skirt snaps, soles drum the street, echoing off shuttered windows. Neighbor's words split between concern and scorn, he holds position. She slides past, path reasserted, the street holds its breath. By candlelight, the physician writes, the room tight and hushed. He pauses, hears a cry beyond, and tightens his jaw. He crushes rosemary, scent sharp, thoughts turning grave. The window latch rattles, he steadies it with careful hands. Dawn spills over lanes as dancers flood the streets like a river. Constables attempt to guide, but the bodies slip past heedless. From above, the city shows its veins, pulsing with motion. Close on feet, raw heels pound cobbles, dust rising. Frau Trophia passes neighbor, he offers water with a trembling hand. She turns away, spinning, his words break against her rhythm. A brief stall, then her feet quicken, skirts, snapping sharp. Neighbor trails close, pleading, unable to reach her gaze. A baker whispers of cursed rye while women stagger past. Rumor kindles, eyes narrow, breaths quicken, fear spreads. Across the lane, neighbors lean in, rumor bridging distance. The rumor takes root, carried by fearful glances and breath. 50 dancers swell, one falls, twitches, then rises to sway. The priest steps forward, raising the crucifix into thickened air. Fiddles scream. The spire's shadow stretches across bodies. A collapse near the cross draws eyes. The priest does not waver. Dawn reveals a square littered with relics of frenzy, now hushed. A child's shoe sits alone, water beating along the seam. A violin string curls like a question, delicate and spent. Two crows hop and hesitate, testing the new silence. The city holds its breath. Footsteps have finally ceased. Neighbor walks slowly through a side street, the city newly quiet. He pauses by the tumbled stool and the scarf, eyes caught by details. A faint red footprint dried on stone stops him in place. He looks up, the silence pressing against his breath. He moves on, footsteps careful, leaving the trace undisturbed. Within cool stone, a priest kneels beneath St. Vitus, seeking mercy. His hands hover above the font, unsure if water heals or binds. He glances toward the nave, hearing remembered steps in silence. He lowers his hands, choosing prayer over certainty. Candles weep wax as his whispered petitions fade into stone. The physician closes his ledger. The room hums with what remains unsaid. He stares at an empty chair as if expecting it to speak. He whispers of famine, fear, and the mind's tyrannies. A rattle at the window interrupts the fragile calm. He reaches to steady the latch, willing the room back to order. The camera glides over rain-streaked stones toward the abandoned heart. A child's shoe and a ribbon lie near the grate, forgotten questions. A violin string curls on stone, a delicate mark of what passed. Two pigeons startle upward, as if at a memory, not a sound. The city is still. Evening closes over unanswered echoes. Priest and council member confer at the top of the cathedral steps. They debate prayer, procession, and penance amid drifting incense. Below, the square writhes. They look down at the living tide. Priest proposes procession, council member counters with order and guards. They reach an uneasy accord and turn toward the square. Musicians falter as dusk cools. Dancers keep moving without heed. A lantern flickers. Music dies. Motion becomes its own command. A woman stares through the air as her feet keep their punishing pattern. The square breathes dusk. Rhythm persists after sound and hope fade. Priest leads a torchlit procession bearing St. Vitus through the square. Frau Trophäus stumbles past the bearers as water beads in her hair. Chants mingle with ragged breaths. The path parts, then closes again. Priest lifts the crucifix, meeting blank faces in relentless motion. Thunder rolls as fat drops darken stone and soften dust to mud. Two dancers ease, as if a spell thins, faces lift to the rain. The city seems to breathe, torches hiss, the rhythm loosens. Water claims the dust, feet slip, motion yields but does not end. Frau Trophäus collapses to her knees as rain washes blood and dust away. Neighbor rushes and steadies her shoulder, movement dwindles around them. In the wet quiet, they remain, lantern glow pools at their knees. The square falls nearly silent, they rise slowly into the rain. Two weary musicians sit on crates, listening to the distant frenzy. One musician wipes his bow, the other stares at his raw fingertips. They exchange a glance, burdened by the relentless rhythm afar. The bow is set down as a tremor runs through the alley light. They sit motionless, the unseen cadence pressing on their chests. Dawn light filters into the bell chamber, dust turning gold. At priest grips the rope, resolve etched deep in his face. Each toll rolls across roofs, the city answering in shivers. The bell swings, revealing a glimpse of stumbling figures below. He invokes Saint Vitus, steady hands refusing to falter. A sunlit square churns as hundreds move in broken patterns. A woman presses her ribs and keeps dancing through the pain. A man stares skyward through tears, knees buckling, then rallies. The music turns from hope to command, bodies obey without choice. Even as tears fall, the collective cadence will not release them. A dim study trembles with the thud of many feet beyond. Physician bends to write, hand steady despite the tremor. He sets down a line, a motion not of flesh alone, but of mind. He pauses, listening, then reaches to still the rattling latch. Ink, herbs, and doubt hang thick as the room breathes with the city. Bodies falter, 2 dancers drop as the cadence grinds on. A husband kneels, cradling his wife's slack hand in stunned silence. Nearby, a mother pushes through bodies, calling for her child. Dust, heat, and fear thicken. The square holds its breath. Then the rhythm resumes, indifferent, swallowing grief into motion. Incense curls between 2 figures at the top of the steps. Prayer, procession, penance words land heavy in the heat. Below, the square twists like a living thing under their gaze. They confer quietly, the incense a veil for conflicting aims. Decision hangs, liturgy or law as the heat bears down. 𝗗𝗓𝗏𝗚 stumbles forward, her ankle smeared with a thin streak of blood. 2 townspeople trade uneasy looks by a shuttered window, saying nothing aloud. Her steps set the street's tempo, whispers shrink before that relentless cadence. By the shuttered window, the pair avert their eyes, as if not to invite it in. 𝗗𝗓𝗏𝗚 lurches past, unheeding, dragging the light along with her rhythm. Lanterns blush to life as dusk cools the square around the stone cross. 𝗗𝗓𝗏𝗚 circles, breath ragged, tracing a narrow orbit beside the cross. The neighbor stands off, arms folded, confusion rooting him in place. Her orbit narrows, wax gutters, shadows tremble against the base of the cross. Across the square, he watches, bafflement hardening into a quiet, stubborn vigil. Pale dawn rinses the square, the cross stands amid faint boot prints. 2 tired women step onto the stones, their cadence strangely identical. A young man hesitates at the edge, jaw clenched against the pull. He yields at last, stepping in, his foot finding their exact beat. The air vibrates with an unseen summons, more eyes turn, uncertain, compelled. A stern table of officials listens as the chamber wakes to muffled footfalls. He taps the ledger, speaking of order and piety, glancing toward the window. At the benches, faces trade quick looks, concern, calculation, disbelief. He squares his shoulders, quill scratches as a clerk notes every measured word. Outside, the faint marching rhythm persists. Inside, authority paints certainty. Dim morning filters through stained glass, pooling cold color on the stone. 2 priests kneel. A low bell note lingers as prayers start to thread the air. Beads bite his fingers as his gaze pulls toward the distant door. From beyond, a faint cadence seems to trespass on the sacred hush. He lowers his head again, prayer struggling to outpace what approaches.